City of Granbury will now come to order at 6 p.m. on Monday, July the 14th, 2025. Granbury City Hall, City Council Chambers. The first item on the agenda tonight is public comments on agenda items that are non-public hearing agenda items. Just everything we have tonight is public hearing items. Do we have any speakers for that? No? Okay. We'll move on to consent agenda. One item on the consent agenda is approval of the regular meeting minutes from the June 9th, 2025 P&Z meeting. Do I have any revisions, corrections, or additions to those minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve them as presented by staff.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Mr. Moore. We have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hayes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That moves us on to public hearings for D1, consideration of the proposed 2025 comprehensive plan for the City of Granbury. Proposed comprehensive plan 2025-06.23. Cody?
Good evening, Ms. Chair and Commission. I'm going to pass this on to our consultants, Fries and Nichols, to present this. And if you have any questions, they would be more than welcome to help out.
Hello. All right. Hi. My name's Daniel Harrison. I'm with Fries & Nichols. Normally David Jones would be here today, but he's on a well-deserved vacation with his family, so they are traveling across the country right now. And so what I have for you today is a quick PowerPoint that highlights the comprehensive plan and where we are. So just really highlighting the future land use plan, and we're going to do a quick overview of some of the chapters just to bring you up to speed. Not very many changes. What we're looking at with staff is just some minor edits to the document, nothing substantive, and then also talk you through the plan implementation. So once again, David Jones is your project manager and been leading you through this effort, and then other members of our team that you can see here. Looking at the planning process that we've gone through this plan, going back to the very beginning with the initiation and different assessments that we're doing to really get a good understanding of what was going on in the city, moving into gathering public input and looking at different facts about the city, and then moving into the third phase, which was drafting chapters and our various chapters that we have in the document, and really where we are tonight, finalizing the plan and moving towards adoption with the council in August. So we have guiding principles that talk about, what is important in the plan, talking about the history of the city, downtown, the lake, transportation, the community itself, and preparing for growth in strategic locations. Here we have an overview of the different type of input that we've had through several different events, whether they've been steering committee meetings with you, open houses that we've had at different stages throughout the project, but really it's just sort of an outline of showing that there's been involvement from you and from the open houses throughout the life of this project. Here's just a couple of photos from the workshops that we've had over time. And then, of course, last spring and in the fall, our open houses that we had there as well. So looking at the future land use map, which is always one of the most critical parts of a comprehensive plan, knowing that, the proportions of medium to high density to low density, those are staying the same. Identifying overlays, how we can preserve commercial areas, that was also very important. Aligning the land uses with the current market conditions was another goal that we had, and a highlighting feature. And then the lake continues to be a defining feature for the community and preserving access to it and orienting development to the lake. Providing overall balance to ensure the fiscal health. As you'll see here, we have a slide about the economic development chapter that looked at some numbers that we'll take a look at here in a second. Here's the future land use map. You'll see the overlays that we have for 377 East and West. There's a little bit different characters in those areas. So once again, preserving and building upon those, as well as downtown. Really preserving downtown as the heart of the community that people are very passionate about. Moving to East 377, that's the gateway into the community for a lot of people, making sure that open storage, things like that are well mitigated, so those aren't dominant views that when you're driving down 377. Then on the west side, keeping that professional office with the hospital, elements like that. We have dashboards that explain the colors on the future land use map and sort of what the intent is. So we have a description, a paragraph about what those are, and then a little bit more discussion about like what's appropriate in those areas to help provide that guidance. Looking at some of the other chapters, we have a thoroughfare plan chapter that really helps connect parts inside and outside of the city, so we can connect to different parts of the county and how people get around. Looking at some historic overviews of defining things that have happened in the city, all the awards that you've won, and once again, really emphasizing what a special place Granbury is and why people come here and want to continue to preserve the character that we have in the city. So we have some historic inventory analysis. They're working with staff. There's a couple of other dots that we need to add to this map, but working with them just to identify those dots. But once again, what the plan is doing is wanting to continue the historic preservation and continue to build upon the community identity. Economic development, we had Jason Klonch. He was a sub on this project. He's an economic development expert, and taking a really look at, if we look at this future land use map, what type of businesses those are going to bring, what the economic input, the property taxes are going to be from those businesses, what the sales tax are going to be versus what are, as we grow as a community, those are services that the city pays for with tax dollars. So if you look at how much projected to bring in versus how much to expend on services, we can see that there would be a surplus of $64.5 million looking out into the future. So that's a good analysis to look at when you run those numbers, because you don't want that number to be negative, because that would mean you need to raise taxes to meet that amount, but the analysis shows that there would be a surplus. So looking at some of those economic development recommendations coming from that chapter, working to develop an economic development corporation, targeting healthcare industries, targeting educational opportunity, a technical college to come in the area to help for some of those training and provide more job opportunities as the city grows, looking at some of those elements. Looking at the environment and natural resources, talking a lot of people, of course, like the natural feel that you have in the community, the trees, things like that, to consider. Updating the city's plans to coincide with the state water plan. Of course, we're going to need water to provide new residents and businesses, and then continuing to use the lake as an aesthetic and recreational opportunity for the community. We have a parks chapter that addresses some of those things as well, looking at different park opportunities. Growth management, looking at, as the city grows, where are we having coordination between our future land use plan and our infrastructure plan, expanding roads, expanding other infrastructure. And then really looking into plan implementation, talk about some of the best practices to continue to use the plan and make sure it's staying important for the community and useful. So taking a look at it every year at the P&Z level and the council level to see, okay, we're a year into this, how things are changing. How are we doing on our implementation chapter? Or how are we doing on these things? So, and we have this matrix here at the end. So it's a really nice checklist to sort of go down. These are the things that we said are important. A year later, how are we doing on those? And then about every 5 years, you want to take a more in-depth review of that. Economics change, land uses can change as well. So taking a look at, like, do we need bigger updates every 5 years? Some other things to sort of consider as we, state legislature meets every 2 years. So taking a look at what the state is changing for cities. Taking a look at, we've had changes to how the ETJ is managed and what the state is telling us with people being able to opt out of the ETJ, different elements like that. Restrictions for annexation, that's another one. And then just looking at interagency cooperation to help grow. So lots of different planning partners that we have. It's just not the city, it's a whole community and the different agencies that are involved with that, from schools. People move to areas for schools and education. So that's very important, but working with the different other agencies that we have, both inside the city and outside. So once again, just hitting those key elements for the guiding principles. We think the plan hits on all those key elements that we identified during the stakeholder and public involvement portion of the project. And so it all really wraps up into this implementation matrix. That's what I was sort of talking about, whether these are short-term, long-term, or ongoing priorities, and we can sort of go down that list, and staff's able to keep a track on how are we doing on each one of these, and of course bring that to P&Z and council for more discussion once a year. So with that, we'll see if there's any questions, but really just wanted to give a quick overview of what we have in the comprehensive plan and see if you had any questions. But no major changes really from the last time when we were talking with you. Like I said, there's just some stuff at the staff level that's really minor elements, some wording that we need to get tweaked and adjusted, but nothing substantive that would change a recommendation in the plan.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for the consultant? So Cody, when she's saying the change after, are they asking us to approve their proposal tonight?
Yes, ma'am. Give a recommendation for adoption.
Okay, with whatever changes you're all working on?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Hay.
Chair, I'll move to recommend to City Council the adoption of the revised comprehensive plan.
I have a motion by Mr. Hapes to accept the proposed 2025 comp plan as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Mr. Hallman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item agenda is D2, a public hearing. Consider the request of Mark Leon for zoning change from business commercial, light commercial, and heavy commercial to planned development-based multifamily located at 1641 South Meadows, Zone 25-7. Cody?
Yes, ma'am. So this is located at 1641 South Meadows Drive. It is 9.032 acres, and the proposed zoning is planned development multiple family. The applicant is proposing to develop an apartment complex on this site. So the current zoning is mixed between light commercial, heavy commercial, and business commercial, and they're proposing PDMF, planned development multifamily. The apartment complex will have 191 units, a pool area, and a dog park. And in the PD, the variance table requested is the height and density requirements for the buildings not to exceed 45 feet in height. And for everything above 35 feet, they would add 1 foot to setbacks for the building. And then the max density is 18 dwelling units per gross acre per the multiple family zoning regulations. And they're proposing 22 dwelling units per gross acre. And this is the proposed site plan. This is the landscape plan. And proposed elevations. And considerations for the Planning and Zoning Commission to look into when making a decision. The proposal would be consistent with the future land use designation and existing uses in the area. Since the surrounding area is already developed, the proposed change would be an infill project in the realm of utilities, and the additional units could create a demand for the schools in the area. This proposal would increase the amount of multifamily zone land. This proposal is the first in the vicinity since approximately 2013 when apartments were built to the west at South Meadows and North Meadows. This proposal would accommodate new multifamily residential units, increasing the available number of units in the area. On July 2nd, city staff mailed out 30 public notices to all property owners within 200 feet and on the municipal tax roll within 200 feet of the subject property. Notice was also published on June 28, 2025 in the Hood County newspaper as required by state law and the zoning ordinance. And as of 5:50, I have 5 letters in opposition and 0 letters in favor. And staff recommends approval of the request to rezone from light commercial, business commercial, and heavy commercial to plan develop multiple family zoning districts. And the voting options for tonight: recommend approval of the zoning change or recommend denial of the zoning change.
Thank you, Cody. I'll open the public hearing, and is the applicant here? And if so, would you like to speak? Please turn on the microphone when you get there, please, sir. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Leone with Cross Architects. I'm here representing the owner, Tekins Construction, for this project. Want to talk through, first I'm going to start off with our experience, Cross Architects first, and then I'll dive into the details on the project. So our office is located at 879 Junction Drive, Allen, Texas. So McKinney, Frisco area, about an hour north of Dallas is where our office is. We just celebrated our 22-year anniversary in June, and we specialize in only multifamily construction in the state of Texas, all over Texas, from DFW, San Antonio, Austin, Houston, El Paso, East Texas, just all over Texas is what we specialize in. The client that I'm working for came to us with this piece of land. We specifically targeted this piece of land because with our meetings with the staff at the beginning of this year, the future land use plan that we were just speaking about a moment ago, this tract of land is aimed at going to multifamily per that future use plan. We definitely understand that currently it's zoned light and heavy commercial. I did hand out packets. Hopefully everybody has a physical copy of those. Nothing different than what was given to staff. Just wanted to give a physical copy to everybody so you can follow along. So let me talk a little bit about the project now that I've given a little of our MO, okay? So what we're proposing here is a PD. I do want to point out that we are intentionally keeping about 1.5 acres of heavy to light commercial along St. Morgan Street. We understand that, keeping that avenue, that commercial existing on the east side of our project, or really the west side of Morgan Street, conforms with everything that's to the north and south of us. So we really feel like maintaining that commercial frontage is essential. And then behind it is what we're proposing for our multifamily development. So as you move west from the commercial lot, you then encounter a regional detention pond. This pond will service the commercial lot for drainage as well as the proposed multifamily lot. Then within our multifamily lot, we're proposing 192, and I'm going to be very clear about this, market rate luxury high-end apartments. This is not affordable housing. This is not tax credit. This is not Section 8. None of those terms. This is high-end market rate luxury apartments. We're also intentionally marketing only 1 and 2 bedroom units, not 3 bedroom units. We've found that 3 bedroom units, one, there's a lot of wear and tear on the units as far as turnover, as tenants turn over, but the big thing that concerns us is really for the city, and that's taxing the school systems. 3 bedroom units tend to have a big tax on the school systems, flood the schools with maybe more than you're prepared to handle, so we're really aiming at that 1 and 2 bedroom mark, a 60-40 split, 60% 1 bedrooms, 40% 2 bedrooms, okay? And then really what we're focusing on here, and as probably all of us have felt in the market for the last year and a half, 2 years, is it's just not affordable to buy single-family homes currently. Most folks don't have 4 to 5% as a down payment on a single-family home, but most of us want to have granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, tile backsplashes, nice high-end finishes, and these apartments are a way that you could get into that world without having to come up with that 3 to 5% down payment on a single-family home. So that's really what we're marketing here, is a high-end luxury product that is attainable to the normal individual that has a career. I did want to point out, if you flip later in the package, I know a moment ago we showed a rendering, a black and white rendering, but in the packet that I gave you, if you flip a couple pages in, you'll see there's a nice pretty color rendering picture in there for you. That's actually a product that is existing today in the city of Midlothian, Texas. Okay, this is a product that we have built. Happy to give you the address for that. It's called The Westerly in Midlothian is where it's located at, on Old Fort Worth Road. So Yeah, I think that's a quick overview of the project. I wanted to talk about the two variances that we requested, the reason why we're asking for a PD and not just straight multifamily zoning. One was the height. We're proposing a 3-story building, okay? Our floors are 9-foot ceilings. That already gets us to about 31 feet to get to the finished ceiling of the 3rd floor. Then once you add a roof on it, you're adding another 10 feet or so. We saw 35 feet was the maximum, so we're asking you to bump it up to 45 just to accommodate our roof. We're not proposing 4-story buildings. This is just 3-story garden-style product with a roof on it, shingled roof, okay? The other part is the density. Because we are keeping that 1.5-acre tract on the east side of the site, and because we're also having to accommodate a large detention pond, a regional detention pond on site, we really had to increase the density from that 18 maximum to the 22 just to make the site viable from a financial standpoint. So those are the only 2 variances that we're requesting. I do want to point out that I've been in very close contact with city staff and the fire marshal talking about landscape ordinances, life safety, fire lanes, egress and access points. So we are in full compliance with the exception of the density and the building height. Everything on this site conforms with your base multifamily zoning, to be very clear. Yeah, I think that's a real quick overview of the whole project. I'm very experienced with this one, so if you have any questions, big or small, please let me know. Happy to answer those for you.
Thank you, sir. Questions, commission members? Mr. Hallman?
The dividing fence along the property line on the north side where there are residential properties, what is that fence comprised of?
So that fence, we're going to propose a decorative wrought iron 6-foot tall metal fence with stone columns spaced at about 30 to 50 feet on center. And then there'd be a live screen, greenery, landscaping on our side of the fence. So you'd have the fence on the property line. There's a 10-foot setback there between the parking, so you'd have landscaping in there, then you would have the fire lane. So on the north side, the closest building is about 62 feet south of that property line. So we intentionally
62.
placed the fire lane there, then the building, so we're as far away from that northern property line as possible. And you'll notice on that A1.0 sheet, we have dimensions from the corner of the building to all the property lines, just to make it really clear how far away we are from all the perimeters.
Is this a sprinkled development?
Yes, sir. Per code, the IFC, anything that has more than 1 dwelling unit in a building is required to have a sprinkler system. So it's going to be a NFPA 13R fire sprinkler system in all the residential buildings. And then the clubhouse, because it's standalone and no residents are living there, that structure is not sprinkled. That's the only non-sprinkled building on the project.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Moore?
Yes, your plans show 41 foot 8 inches tall, and you proposing 45 foot, is that correct?
That is correct. We want to just give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room in case a surveyor comes out and shoots a laser from the ridge down to the grade. Some cities measure from the actual grade around the building. Some cities measure from the finished floor of the concrete that the building is on. Some cities measure from out in the fire lane, including the 6 inches of curb. So we just want to make sure that we didn't go above that 45 feet by any means. So we asked for a couple feet more than we needed just to be safe.
Okay, and you're using all fire-resistant materials on the outside of the building?
Absolutely. It's going to be a 1-hour rated exterior wall, and again, that adheres to the IFC, so 1-hour rated UL assemblies throughout the project.
And y'all are working with the fire marshal as well?
Yes, sir. We've spoken with the fire marshal, gone over the size of the fire riser rooms, where the fire riser rooms are located, hose lay distances. So we have a lot of email correspondence. I haven't actually in person sat down with the fire marshal, but a lot of phone and email communication.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Is all your access through stairways, exterior stairways?
For the upper floors, yes. All the ground floor units, you would literally just walk right into the building,
Right.
and then all the entries are covered inside the building, so they're secured and covered. And then for the second and third floor, you would go up a set of stairs to get the second floor, and then another set of stairs to get to that third floor. No elevators. Maybe that answers the question.
Yes, thank you. Any other questions for the applicant, commission members? Thank you, sir. If not,
Absolutely. Thank
if
you.
not, we have some speaker cards on this agenda item. The first speaker is James Johnson. If you come to the podium, are you here, Mr. Johnson? you come to the podium, state your name and address, please, sir. Thank you.
Yes, I'm James Johnson, and my address is 1401 Lauren Lane. I'm right behind where they're going to build the apartment. And I was concerned about drainage. He said a retention pond, and that's good. But they built a new subdivision just down from us across the street there, just by the schoolhouse. And they ran into a lot of problems with that drainage. I remember they dug on that for a long time, about 2 years before they were able to get it ready. And with that creek, our creek goes right by our house and stuff, and we have had some neighbors that had flooding along those lines. It came up to their back porch. It didn't quite come in the house, thank goodness. And we were just, with all the flash flooding and stuff recently in our news, we were just concerned about flooding and hydrology, the storm drain and stuff like that.
Cody, would you like to speak at all? So just tell them the process of what it goes through to when they look at drainage on these projects. Would you mind?
Yes, so when they come in to plat the property out, they will have to submit full civil drawings, looking at their drainage and detention pond and seeing what flows they're going to have, if it's going to need to be upsized or anything like that. From what they can tell so far, that's why they gave a full acre of that drainage detention. But once it goes through full civils, they will review and look at that thoroughly.
I was concerned. I'm a petroleum geologist, and I've got a little bit of training with hydrology and water flow and stuff. And the creek that we have, it's like 4 or 6 foot wide, coming from behind the other apartments back there. And when it turns at our house, it widens up to about 30 foot wide. And we have had some rocks falling into the creek, and it's been some junk thrown into the creek like that. And the city actually does a good job of maintaining that with the weed eaters and mowing and stuff like that. They do a great job, but it's just we're concerned about the water flow.
Which is a very legitimate concern. Any project is not supposed to put out any more water than would have come off of that property before, right? Before development.
Yes, ma'am. And it's like he's saying, anytime you put in roofs, asphalt parking lots, concrete walkways, you're disrupting that flow going into the ground, and you do disrupt the water flow, and you can have storm drainage for sure coming through.
Any questions for him? Right. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
The next speaker tonight is Donna Wildeboer. Okay. All right. The next speaker then for her is Paula Johnson.
Thank you very much. I appreciate giving me some time to talk. We have some concerns about the. Can you hear me?
Can you state your name and address?
Oh, I'm sorry, Paula Johnson.
Sorry. You can pull that microphone down if you need to. There you go. Thank you.
Is that better? Okay. I live at 1401 Lauren Lane. James Johnson is my husband. We had some concerns about the building being 3 stories. Our subdivision backs up to those 3 stories, and we're very concerned about privacy issues as one of the things, because as they build 3 stories, they can see into our windows, and they can see into our yards, and they can see everything we're doing. That is a big concern for us, particularly with as many people that are going to be back there, and we don't know the character of these people. We just have some concerns about that, and I'd like to know how he will address that.
As far as the city or the applicant?
The applicant, I'm sorry.
Okay. Mark, you want to speak to that?
Yes, you can
Yes.
come back to the podium, please.
So let's see, I'll speak to Mr. James Johnson on the drainage, if that's okay. And
That'd
then
be-
I'll speak to Ms. Paula, if that's okay.
That'd be great. Thank you, sir.
So as staff will know from the packages that you have in front of you, and I can maybe give a copy to the gentleman right here as well, we have done a preliminary drainage study that was included in the package. So if you flip to the last couple of pages, there's it's Cross Engineering, not associated with Cross Architects. They're located in McKinney, Texas. And we have done a drainage study kind of dividing the land into multiple different segments and making sure we're understanding how we're picking up the water, which way the water's flowing, and then we even oversized the detention pond a little bit more than what was required. And I did want to point out, I currently have a project right now under construction in Kerrville, Texas. And if anybody's been watching the news over the last week or two, we all know what's going on in Kerrville. The project I have is doing great. We over-designed drainage ditches around it and ponds. We are in the business of protecting not only the residents around us and the developer that we work for, but the city as well. So we always over-engineer slightly just to make sure we're taking care of those concerns, because water getting into someone's unit means they're not coming back and renting an apartment, right? So that's the first thing. And then for the screening, as far as those 3-story buildings, we definitely understand, privacy for those single-family homes. I believe to the west and to the north of us, we will have, so if you look on our site plan, now I'm kind of showing you as well while we're talking here, we have only these 2 buildings kind of up in the top north corner, that are building number 4A and the building 3A. I would imagine those are the buildings that are kind of the most concerning. So I'll kind of reiterate what I said earlier about we're intentionally making sure that these 2 buildings are more than 60 feet away from that property line on the north, and then more than 60 feet away from this property line on the west. So first step, getting them as far away from the property line as possible. Okay. The next thing we're doing, like I said, is that screening around the perimeter. We're going to put a nice 6-foot tall screening fence, trees and landscaping, and we actually have a real pretty landscape plan here showing all the proposed trees, meeting the city's requirements. This was a requirement of the city for our submission. Let me flip to that page. Here we go. Okay. So on the north, we have a full screening of trees and shrubs along that entire fence. So you'll have the 6-foot fence, you have screening of trees and shrubs along the whole way, then we even have trees in the islands that are happening here. And then same thing on the west side. We're going to have that screened fence running all the way down, and then there is a utility easement over here on the far west side, that 15-foot utility easement that we unfortunately can't put anything in. That I'm aware of. Happy to put landscaping in there if allowed, but I believe for maintenance, that utility easement on the west, we're not allowed to put landscaping in there. So unfortunately, for the southwest corner of the site, that 15-foot easement on our property line has nothing in it, again, just because it's a utility easement for maintenance. But the north side, we're intentionally making sure 6-foot fence with live screening and those buildings set back more than 60 feet.
Okay, and the live screening is the trees as well.
Right, bushes and trees.
Okay, and I'm not sure where the Lauren Lane is from here.
Here's the overall. So here, no, you're fine. So here's US Highway 37, and there's Morgan Street right there, and there's our site. I'm not sure if that helps you out.
Okay, yeah, because we are over back in here.
Oh, you're a little further north of us. Okay.
Yeah, a little further north. But still, it comes around, and I don't know how to put it on here, but it comes around and comes through here.
Okay.
And so that's what we're concerned about is not having the privacy that we need to have. But I have some other people here, but they don't want to talk, so I will talk about it. So I'm glad he did answer that, and I am glad to know that it is a luxury facility. And I'm wondering about the plans, and I don't know that this really affects him, but I'm wondering about the plans for the congestion that it will create from people leaving those apartments to get out on 144. We have been backed up all the way to Stumpy's at times, and they block the intersections. And I can tell you, I have had to call the police to come out and get them to unblock the intersections so I could make a left turn to go to work, or I could get across the street to go to Brookshire's. So this is going to add to the congestion in the city. And I know there are plans in progress, but they're not there yet. The other concern is how many subdivisions have been built here lately. Pecan Plantation, I know, has expanded and built new homes. You can throw a rock and hit a new subdivision practically. I've driven out on the back roads. I've seen the new subdivisions that are being built. Some of them I was like, I didn't even know they were there. But they're in Hood County, and those families will be sending their kids to our schools. And I've talked to a couple of teachers. I have not done a big survey because I only had a week's time to do this. But they're talking about their classes are overcrowded. And I have a lot of concerns about that. So that is mainly everything that I think I have is, when I was worried about the police that we have, will it support this many more people coming in with all the new subdivisions? And I have concerns about the volunteer fire department that we have, that it will be adequate to address all our needs. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Is that all the speaker cards you had on this item? Okay. Any questions for the applicant or the city commission members? Any questions? Okay. If not, I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion on the request for the zoning change from business commercial, light commercial, and heavy commercial to pan development-based multifamily.
Chair, I'll move to approve the zoning changes presented.
I have a motion by Mr. Haves to approve the zoning change as presented by staff. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Hallman. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is D3, a public hearing to consider the request of Tina Sandoval for a specific use permit to allow a pawn shop use in light commercial located at 908 East Highway 377. Cody?
Yes, ma'am. So this is located at 908 East US Highway 377. It's 0.289 acres. It's not platted based off the history of the property. And they're proposing a SUP for a pawn shop. Current zoning is light commercial. And here's the proposed site plan. In the conditions, this specific use permit for use for pawn shop as defined and regulated by the zoning ordinance. There shall not be any open outside storage. The site plan shown on Exhibit B is the governing site plan for the property. All parking, maneuvering, display, and storage must be on improved surface. This specific use permit is subject to all other city code requirements, permits, periodic inspections, and any inspection fees as established by the city's master fee schedule. This SUP or specific use permit is subject to periodic inspections and inspection fee as established in the city's master fee schedule. Any violation of the supplemental land use standards or terms and conditions stipulated in the specific use permit may be deemed in violation of the zoning ordinance, and the specific use permit may become null and void, or the certificate of occupancy may be revoked. And for the considerations for an SUP. The surrounding area consists of a future land use plan that exists with commercial, retail, and undeveloped land. The application description of a specific use requested is for pawn shop, which requires an SUP. And the allowance for a pawn shop in this area would be reasonable. And the proposed use does not appear to have impacts on the surrounding area. The proposed use appears to be appropriate for the general area, indoor use with no outdoor storage. Staff suggests a condition to preclude outdoor storage. The site is currently developed with an established building. Conditions may be recommended or imposed. And on July 2nd, city staff mailed out 6 public notices to all property owners within 200 feet on the municipal tax roll within 200 feet of the subject property. And on June 28th, notice was also published in the Hood County News as required by state law and the zoning ordinance. As of this writing, 0 letters have been in favor and 1 letter has been received in opposition. And staff recommends approval of the SUP as presented. And the voting options for tonight: recommend approval of the SUP as presented, recommend approval of the SUP with additional conditions, or recommend denial of the SUP.
Thank you, Cody. I'll open the public hearing. Is the applicant here? And if so, would you like to speak? Just please state your name and address, please, sir.
My name is Joe Freitas, and I live in Haltom City, 5721 Rio Grande, Haltom City. We are based out of Mansfield, Texas. I don't know the address. You know the address?
So our first pawn shop was opened in 1992. We're a family-owned business. We have currently 11 locations. So our original pawn shop is in Mansfield. It's 2056 Highway 157 North in Mansfield. We've been wanting to be part of, Granbury for a while now, but we really didn't know how to apply for this special use permit, or didn't find a location that didn't need it. So we just wanted to try and see. I don't know if you have anything.
I'd just like to share a couple of history about the pawn business. Pawn business was actually started over 3,000 years ago, and America was founded because of a pawn shop. A lot of people don't know this, but Queen Isabella gave her jewelry to finance the voyage to come to the United States, and that's how we got discovered. Many people portray us and see us in the movies as really bad, but has anybody ever been to the black pawn shop that right down the road? It's actually very beautiful, very clean, and we're actually a financial institution. In the pandemic days, we were considered essential. We were open, we helped the community. I personally myself have helped hundreds of kids and spent thousands of dollars. We also donate for the police department.
We do the softball team for Mansfield. We do the police department softball team. We also sponsor, students from high schools that participate in the rodeos and stuff like that. We also, we have a lot of organizations in this. The cities that we're most involved with the community is the city of Mansfield. They come out, the schools come out asking for donations. Sometimes the churches come out and ask for donations. Burleson, we've been active with the community as far as, when they have the Easter events, any kind of special events, we're very active. We have currently also a pawn shop in Stephenville. So that one was kind of a challenge for us because it's a college town. So we have a lot of part-time students that come and work for us. And they all love to stay with us because we not only pay hourly, but they're commission. So it helps them with their, financial needs as far as paying their tuitions or, paying for their food or whatever they need there. But that's been our challenge with them. But we also help with if we're sponsoring anything that they have with their college.
I want to tell you a funny story. When I first started 37 years ago, my mom came up to me and said, "Hey, you need a job," because I was roofer. And she goes, your brother's friend's dad owns a pawn shop. And the first thing I said is, "Mom, I don't want to go there. They have stolen merchandise." And less than 1/10 of 1% is actually stolen merchandise nowadays. We work with local law enforcement. Matter of fact, my pastor is one of the people that come to the pawn shop. We help. I've had doctors as clients. We've had police officers. We had great, outstanding citizens that come in. So we actually help the community a lot. As a matter of fact, they call us when they're looking for a suspect in case they come in. And just 2 days ago, we had a suspect that came into one of our shops in Grand Prairie. Of course, that's a little bit different from here. But we stalled and called, and we worked with them hand in hand. So we're always there, and we're always helping the community. I personally train boxers, and I started an organization to help the kids stay off the streets, and I spent thousands of dollars. I took them all over the state of Texas, and I can actually say one of my guys was in the 2015 Olympics, and I was there for him. Many of these kids didn't have no parents at home, or both parents, shall I say, and so there's things like that we do, and they help me sponsor that.
Sounds awesome. Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
questions for the applicant, Mr. Allen?
Before we came to Granbury, I was a pawnbroker up in Fort Worth, and so I applaud you for doing it down here.
Thank you.
But I know that most of them had a small lot where they would pawn cars. And obviously, this plan doesn't include
No, sir.
anything like that.
We do not want to get into that.
Okay.
No, we don't. No vehicles. Thank you. Can I ask you which pawn shop you work for?
What, sir?
Cash America and First Cash Pawn both.
Oh, nice. The first guy
And
started
then before
was
that, I was the music expert at Pete's Pawn in Garland.
Oh, nice.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Commission members? All right, thank you. If not, any questions for staff? If not, I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion on the SUP request.
I'll make a motion to approve the SUP as presented.
I have a motion by Mr. Moore to approve the applicant's SUP as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Class. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is D4, a public hearing to consider the request of the City of Granbury for a comprehensive plan amendment from low-density residential to high-density residential and zoning change from R 8.4 single-family residential to multifamily residential located at 1300 South Meadows Drive. Cody?
Yes, ma'am. This is located at 1300 North Meadow Drive, as I was corrected earlier. The property is not currently platted, and the purpose is to allow for multiple family zoning for future development at an unknown date. The current zoning is single-family residential 8.4, and the proposed is multiple family. The future land use is low-density residential, and the proposed is high-density residential. And from the 2016 comprehensive plan, this was identified as low-density residential, and this outlines what the high-density residential definition is. And per the zoning ordinance, the Planning and Zoning Commission shall consider the following factors. The proposal would be consistent with the existing zoning surrounding the property, whether the proposed change is in accord. Since the surrounding area is already developed, there is infrastructure in place and would need to be connected upon site development. Additional residential units could create a demand for the schools in the area. This proposal would increase the amount of multifamily zone land, and this proposal is similar to a current proposal. This proposal would accommodate new multiple family residential units, increasing the available number of units in the area. And 6 and 7 for y'all. On July 2nd, city staff mailed out 10 public notices to all property owners within 200 feet and on the municipal tax roll within 200 feet of the subject property. Notice on June 28th was also published in the Hood County News as required by state law and the zoning ordinance. As of this writing, 0 letters have been received in favor, and 2 letters have been received in opposition. Staff recommends approval of the future land use amendment, and staff also recommends approval of the request to rezone from single-family 8.4 residential to multiple family residential. And the voting options for tonight: recommend approval of the comprehensive plan amendment, recommend denial of the comprehensive plan amendment, and recommend approval of the zoning change or recommend denial of the zoning change. I think you turned your microphone off. Your microphone's off.
Thank you, Cody. Are you answering questions, or city manager's going to come up on
Mr.
behalf
Kaufman.
of the applicant? Okay.
Y'all had a wide variety of things to consider tonight, and as you were mentioned, you can drive around and see the subdivisions all along our community, and it's just our community development department is being snowballed with projects, and it's coming in a rapid rate. Council asked me to have this property run by the Planning and Zoning Commission for them to consider to rezone it. It's a little unusual for the city to get involved in the zoning request. I did reach out to the property owner, and he was very happy that that was a question to zone that property, his property, into multifamily. His neighboring lot next to it is a 10-acre tract as well that's already zoned for multifamily. And so that leaves a 10-acre tract between the currently zoned multifamily and the school property. Right now, it's an 8.4 residential. But we've got a project working with a tax credit house for senior citizens, 55-plus community. The same people we dealt with on the other two tax credit projects that we've done since I've been here. And because of the timeline is so sensitive, we felt the need to move forward as a city to request this zoning change instead of the applicant. There's not a for sure deal yet. We have scored preliminary very high on the chart to acquire this project. They award one project in the 16-county area, and it would really be a home run for the community to be able to land another one of these tax credit projects in the recent 5 years. So, you know, the one on Hill Court was developed. It turned out very nice. The one, I don't remember the street name, but if you go to Park and turn left, there's another one that was put in that turned out very nice. They're proposing quadplex housing, single family, about 52 units on a little over 5 acres of this 10-acre tract that would be in the tax credit program. At a future date, they intend to possibly do market rate housing on the remainder of that property, but that's not in the plan yet. And again, this is an application before Texas Department of Community Housing and Affairs, and they are going to score this in September, and this needs to be zoned appropriately for their application by then. So we brought this to you tonight for your consideration. It would, I asked her about the exterior. It would be masonry, hardy board, and some of the brick look that's on the Hill Court apartments. I don't know what you call that rock, but I call it a sticky rock. It's kind of layered, and it doesn't look like it has mortar, and it's very attractive. So it is a low-density multifamily, if you think about it, 52 units on 5 acres. So not bad at all. It'll be a nice community for me when I retire and can't afford to pay my taxes anymore. So that's kind of where I'm at. Y'all have any questions?
So what part of the lot is this first phase that's talking? Is it
Right.
the front part that fronts Meadows or the back part?
Front.
The front.
The way I understand it. I haven't seen a sketch of it or anything. It's just they said it would make more sense to develop the front first from a cost point.
So if you don't get the project,
it would just be zone multifamily for somebody else to come along and
Right.
probably
We
do
don't-
something different.
we don't
I want
ever
to make
go
sure
back
you
and-
understand that. It's not a done deal.
But the zoning will be done, will
Right.
be permanent for it,
It'll
regardless of
be a
whether you get the-
multifamily, yes, ma'am.
regardless of whether you get the project.
Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned this is over 55.
That's what the current project
For
is
tax
looking
credit.
to do, a 55-plus community. Now, just to be transparent, on that 10 acres right next door, you're going to be looking at a plat on it before long at all. So there's another company that's looking to put, I haven't seen the sketch of what they're planning to put there, but there's an apartment complex going in right next door.
Not
At
a
some
question.
point in the near future, you'll see that.
I didn't have a question. I just had a comment that I don't know if a lot of people know, but there are huge waiting lists for these tax credit apartments in town. And working in the fire EMS, like I have, I run across an enormous amount of elderly people living in their cars. They have nowhere to go. So I applaud the city for getting out in front of this, because just the other day I ran into a lady that was elderly living in her car, and she didn't know where to go, and I tried to send her to Hill, but I think Hill Boulevard maybe even has a waiting list. And it's a beautiful facility. I've been in there many times.
And Hill Boulevard actually is a blend of market rate plus tax credit. As this project will be, all 52 units will be eligible for tax credit. I just want to say that on behalf of all the planning that's gone in, a comprehensive plan that y'all have talked about tonight, and all the growth that's happening, and the houses are starting at a price range of $350 really to $400,000, and there's not a place for a person that goes to work for the city to live, and a teacher could afford to live in this house, in this apartments that they're talking about, if they were over 55. But so they're limiting it to the 55 plus. For whatever reason, I don't know, but that's the application that they've put together. I think it scores better at the for the grant to be awarded. If it's 55 plus, to be honest with you, I don't know, but I think that's why they're doing it. And she told me she feels very confident we're going to win this award. But it could fall through, you know, who knows? I don't want to promise something that's not done by our agency. So,
Well, I hope you do, because there's a huge, huge need, and I think a lot of people in the community don't really know how many of our elderly citizens are literally living in cars, and some even homeless right now.
So, you know, a two-bedroom apartment is about $1,600 in town, and I don't know if y'all seen that, but it's hard to find a place to live that you can afford. And if you're in that lower income bracket, I would say a family of 2 or 3 living in a 2-bedroom house, they're going to qualify for a discount if they're $60,000 household income or less. So they would. It's a sliding rate. It's a whole nother conversation. But in reality, this is a zoning change request. It's not a project approval for this tax credit thing. It's a zoning. We're trying to set the table there for this to happen if it does. And if it doesn't, we anticipate it's going to be apartments anyway, so at some point.
Any other questions for the applicant or staff? Well, which was also city? No? Okay, thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Coughlin. We have 3 speaker cards tonight. The first speaker is Lou James. If you'd come to the podium and state your name and address, please, sir.
Thank you. I'm Lou James. I live at 407 Counts Alley, and I am an elder with Our Savior Lutheran Church, which is nearby. Having heard Mr. Coughlin's explanation, I think I have a better idea of what's going on. So what I don't understand is if the timing is that important, why they can't get a plan together to present you. The previous applicant had a whole plan so he can show you what he's going to do. What Mr. Coughman keeps saying is it could fall through, it could fall through. It says financial impact not applicable, okay? If the zoning is changed, I think there will be a financial impact, and I think that can be calculated. I don't know anything about that. I just know that from what I've read, when zoning requirements are lessened, property value tends to increase. So that once this is passed, the property value will be increased regardless of what happens in the future. So I don't understand why, again, if time is that important, why they're coming to you for a zoning change first instead of getting the plans together to offer you some guarantee of what you're voting for. Thank you.
Because we leave it open for any kind of development. Thank you, Mr. James. The next speaker tonight is Hayden Lemaster.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to say that I'm here on behalf of my dad. So he's just to get into it. I've got a letter from him. I'm just going to read off.
Can you state your address, please?
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hayden Lemaster. Sorry, I live in Bedford, Texas. I'm a managing partner representing Lemaster Holdings LLC, which owns the property across the street from the subject property. Our holdings include 84 elderly multifamily units located at 1301, 1314, 1315, 1251, and 1225 North Meadow Drive. My father, Anthony Lemaster, developed and built these properties between 1996 and 2004. We understand that several steps will precede the development of the subject property. However, we wish to express our concerns from the outset. Our primary concern regarding the proposed change from low-density single-family to high-density multifamily zoning is the water flow from the watershed. The watershed originates to the northwest near Paluxy Highway and exits at the southwest corner of the underdeveloped portion on the west side of North Meadows Drive. During the development of our property, the city of Granbury required my father to commission a drainage study for the subject property to assess the volume and path of water flowing toward North Meadow Drive and its discharge to the lake. The study was conducted by J.B. Davies Engineering of Fort Worth, and although we no longer possess a copy of the study, my father recalled that it was at the time it raised concerns about future development on the subject property. We have witnessed and been informed of significant water flow traveling down Meadow Drive. A few years ago, our property manager reported an incident in which a vehicle was swept off the road, across the sidewalk, and landed on the grass in front of an apartment at 1301 North Meadows Drive. We believe strongly that developing the subject property as high-density multifamily housing might exacerbate such occurrences. In addition to drainage concerns, we are also worried about the traffic impact and limited access from North Meadow Drive to Highway 144. However, drainage remains our foremost concern. While we are not opposed to rezoning in principle, we cannot support it without additional information on how the proposed changes will affect our property. We recognize that rezoning is the first step in the broader development process, but if a fundamental problem exists that cannot be mitigated, it must be identified from the beginning rather than later. For the reasons I have stated, we cannot support rezoning or development of the subject property until potential for increased watershed affecting our property is also thoroughly investigated. I wish I could answer questions just ahead of time, but I really here, because my dad's currently in Colorado, got the notice a little late, or rather, he wasn't able to make it. I wish he could, but I just wanted to say his piece for him. So,
Thank you, Hayden. Thank you. Any questions for the speaker? Okay. The next speaker is David Hewitt.
I'm David Hewitt. I live in Mallard Point, representing Our Savior Lutheran Church, which is at the corner, which is 1440 Meadows, which is at the corner of Misty Meadows and Meadows. Misty Meadows and Meadows, yes. Our concern, I'm the congregation president for the church, and I also have the head of the trustees with me here today. We are also very concerned about drainage. We have current problems with drainage. The infrastructure does not handle the water well now. The flooding based on fairly minor rainfall at the corner of Misty Meadows and Meadows is over the curbs. And it also then does not flow out and backs up into our property. We've owned that property and been there for 20 plus years. Except during the construction phase, we have operated the church all that time. It wasn't until the last 4 or 5 years that we've experienced a lot of water drainage problems. And we spent a lot of money to mitigate whatever we can on the property to allow the water to drain better and to even scoped all the drains to make sure nothing was clogging them up or keeping them from draining properly, and found that all those things were in great working order. We've done other things like put some pumps in. We've put new gutters and wider and bigger downspouts and everything else to help flow the water away. But when it gets to the street and doesn't go anywhere, it backs up. So our fellows, who are a good group of guys, are always, every time it rains, we're all up wanting to know if it's going to flood and come into the church again, and it does nearly every time to some extent. So that's a problem. And when we have that problem now and we start to build a property that's going to have drainage off-site, which it will be, and we've heard that discussed earlier, that's a concern for us. And we know that water coming down that street is going to be going and emptying and going off to the lake in the same place. So it's going to only make it worse than it is now. And we don't see any change or any assistance in alleviating that problem at the corner by the schools. So that's our first concern. We're very concerned about drainage because we constantly have problems every time we get much rain. And I'm not talking Kerrville rain. I'm talking an inch or two of rain in a short period of time, overnight, can create problems. Our second concern is traffic and neighborhood safety. We have 2 GISD schools right there, as you know, Bronner and Emma Robertson. And we have a preschool, which we run at our church. So they're all right there together. GISD has a significant problem with traffic and safety of bringing their kids and dropping them off and picking them up in the afternoon. That also includes our school, which we have the same problem. A few years ago, I approached the GISD about buying some property at the west side of our property because they needed more parking in their parking lot. And at the time, Jeremy Glenn was the superintendent of schools, and he came back to me and he said, we would really like to buy a strip of land where we can put a road in to help alleviate the traffic congestion, because we are very concerned about the safety and the amount of traffic on the roads right in that area. And so we sold them this strip of land, which you will see on that, you saw on that map. It's exaggerated on that map because it's not as wide as that looks like. It's 60 feet wide, and it's big enough to have a sidewalk and fences and paved and curbs and gutters in the road, and a nice looking road that will be able to be used for different directions depending on the flow of traffic going home, coming in, and so on. But Bronner has a similar problem. They're backed up all the way to what's the gas station down on the corner there at 144. They're backed up all the way down there. The problem is we've had a couple of kids get hit out there because traffic is so bad and people don't always want to go slow. They want to go fast because they're all trying to get to work. They come into our parking lot at our church and park there because they don't want to get in line because it takes too long, and they walk their kids across and go through the traffic. And that's where we've had a couple of young children get hit. So we know at least 2 of those incidences that are caused by excessive traffic in that area. We believe that the high density potential of this property right next door will create more issues. It's really difficult now for people to get out onto Meadows and Misty Meadows if this is drop off and pick up time, which are basically 2 times of the day, obviously. But it's really a problem. And you'd really kind of have to sit there and realize what the issues are. This would only bring more traffic to the area. It can't lessen the traffic. I have a question here that I heard, and I was pleased to hear the city manager mention this plan, which I had heard about because I was called by the people who own the property now, thinking that we were adjacent. And I told them that we weren't adjacent any longer because we'd sold this 60-foot strip of land to the GISD. But I'm very happy to hear this plan because that was what I was told too. But my question, I guess, for you would be, why would we need high density if that sounds like that's medium density? If that's what we're looking at putting in there, and that's what they're talking about putting in there, why would we have to go to high density? Because, as you say, that is not a guaranteed deal. And if they can't put it together, then all of a sudden, now we have to deal with high density and the drainage, more drainage problems, and more traffic issues than with the lower density or medium density that are potentially could be zoned for. That's about all I have. That's enough. Any questions for me?
Cody, could you address if this project could fall under medium?
Fall under what?
Under medium?
I'm not sure of that definition. I had only mentioned, Cody had mentioned that there is something in between, high and low. I don't know if that was 55 units? Is that what they were saying?
52 units.
52?
But it's multifamily. So.
Right, multifamily, but medium density would include some multifamily, would it not?
So it'd be dependent on the definition. I do not recall what the definition is for the comprehensive plan, but medium density residential versus high density residential, there could be an issue with it corresponding to the multiple family residential zoning, which if the multiple family residential zoning requires the high density, it would have to be the high density on the future land use. Let me clarify that.
I would think that it's probably zoned, would it not be, the same as the property across the street? That's probably the same zoning that we're talking about. You know the definition?
So multifamily is multifamily. And then you got low density residential, which is large lots, medium density, which are smaller lots. We don't have a medium density multifamily.
So are they fourplexes? Is that what you
Yes,
said?
ma'am.
So
Yes, ma'am.
could they not fall under like something more like a townhome type thing? Zoning?
No.
No?
Not by our
Okay.
definition, no ma'am.
Say again, Cody?
Not by our definition of in the zoning ordinance, no ma'am.
Okay.
I mean, if it were townhomes, it'd be great too, so, but that's not what we've got. Those are quadplexes. So typically, townhome is, wall-to-wall, 8 units or more, and multi-story. So that's just what we need, is to change the zoning. I'd be happy to work with you on drainage issues. I had no idea y'all had drainage problems.
Yeah.
I've been here 10 years and hadn't heard about it yet, so come see me.
Okay, we'll be happy to. We'll be happy to, won't we?
We want to work with you.
The obviously then I hear that if it's multifamily, it's got to be high density, so there's not really an option there. And obviously that would be a better benefit. It still doesn't eliminate all the drainage issues, but it would make it easier if that project would work. But high density, particularly even up the street, which sounds like it's coming pretty soon, those two high density. Now we've got the other one that's across the street. All that water is going to go to the same place. There's some major construction and major projects that are going to create some big problems at that short, very small area right there. Anyway, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Mr. Hewitt. Sure, you can reapproach the art. This was Mr. James.
Lou James, I was just wondering about a planned development. Is that an option rather than just a straight high-density zoning? Could it be a planned development with restrictions placed on it, which would allow the senior living facility but not allow just whatever in the future? That's
Cody?
what I was wondering. Thank you.
As Mr. Kaufman spoke to earlier, there is a time frame that this would have to be done, and with a planned development, you would have to have site plans and everything presented and approved at that point. However, with the multifamily zoning, they do have to have an approved site plan, so they would have to come back to P&Z with an approved site plan before they could pull any kind of permits or COs for the property. And they would have to plat the property as well. So with all that being said, they're going to have engineering that's going to go and be reviewed by our outsourced civil engineers prior to building, as well as a site plan approval that'll come to P&Z for recommendations prior to approval of permits.
Mr. Kaufman?
Thank you. I'd just like to add that we just went through a legislative session in Austin, and they're trying to figure out ways to increase density in our community, whether we like it or not. And for instance, they had a bill, it didn't pass, thank goodness, but it was going to allow 31 residential single-family homes per acre. And so that's a scary thought, and I've got pictures in my office of subdivisions that meet that criteria. We don't want our zoning to be changed that way. We are very sensitive to construction drainage and ensuring the fire code is met on every project that we do. I don't know how they built a church that floods 23 years ago and didn't have to address drainage that was going to affect them, whether they developed them around or what. It should have been addressed back then. So we're going to look at their needs for sure, but if their church is flooding with a 2-inch rain, we need to know about it, and we need to see what we can do to get that water to drain. Now then, the state law protects them from any development moving forward that would cause them any additional flooding problems. So our hydrologist team that works with Cobb Finley will be addressing those issues as well. So I don't want to flood anybody, and we're going to protect our existing homes and our existing businesses with whatever gets developed, whether it's this project or another one, or the 191 luxury apartments that they're talking about with amenities they didn't cover with y'all, but there's a need for what we're talking about doing and repairing what's obviously messed up. We probably need to look at that as we look at the street project in your neighborhood as well. But I just want to say that we are being mandated to make housing affordable as a city. There's a moral push from Austin making us do this. And when our code requires someone to put together a complete set of plans with architectural renderings like the first gentleman did so eloquently from Allen, Texas. I bet they've spent $250,000 so far on that project, and that just adds to the overall cost of a project, and you don't even know you're going to win the project at this point. So we're trying to keep the cost affordable and work through that project. So, you know, I feel confident it's going to happen, but I can't give you 100%. You know, it's probably a 95%. Yes, we win if we get the zoning, and 95% that we don't. So, but I just want you to know that to come up here with, in fact, we're doing the zoning. The city is, not the applicant, because our code was going to require them to do all that, and that just adds to the cost of the housing. And so we're trying to make it affordable. We're trying to show good faith with our legislature, our state senator that lives here. They're actually talking about bills that mandate secondary homes on everybody's lot in town, no matter how big it is. They can go out there and build another house in their backyard and sell it or rent it or whatever they want to do. So that's the direction the legislature's headed. And then I read the state plan on housing, and the reason why the legislature's acting that way is because Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs put together this housing master plan for the state, and that's what they're pushing. And so I don't necessarily agree with everything they're saying, but I do know that a house that costs $350,000 to $400,000 is hard to attain for a school teacher or police officer, a utility worker, people that are in my world that we hire. It's hard to get there. And so we need some kind of housing for our folks. And there's more economic development things coming as far as housing needs because of jobs being created and the things that are happening on the radar that I can't talk about yet, but they're real close. Businesses coming to town, creating jobs, and they've got to have a place for workers. So I'm sympathetic to what everybody's saying against it. The city council asked me to come and present this to y'all, and so here we are, and we'll go from there. Thank y'all. Have any questions, I'll try to answer.
I can attest to your quote on those figures for the drawings. I'm working on a project in Cleburne right now for a church, and the civil MEP and architectural drawings were $250,000, and that was for one building.
Yeah.
So, yeah, to be able to get all that drawn up and then it may not happen or not, that's a big financial risk that the taxpayers aren't going to want to take.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions for city manager or staff? If not, I'll close the public hearing. And the first thing that we'll vote on is the comprehensive plan amendment that requested. Do I have a motion on the requested comprehensive plan amendment?
I recommend approval of the comprehensive plan amendment.
Mr. Hallman is recommending approval of the comprehensive plan amendment. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Haves. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The second thing that we need to vote on is the zoning change request. Do I have a motion on the zoning change request, please?
Chair, I'll move to recommend approval of the zoning change as presented.
I have a motion by Mr. Haves to approve the zoning change as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hallman. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.